Okay.
Well, thank you, Chairman Hatch and Vice Chairman Wyden and members of the committee, fellow members of the committee. I'm proud to have a seat right up there on this committee and enjoy being a part of it. I couldn't be prouder than to introduce Tom Price to you today. This is the second time I've had the case to introduce Tom in the last week. First time I was called, it was to introduce him at the Help Committee, which I also serve on.
Okay.
And I was proud to do that. And I gave what I hope was the best introduction I could possibly give based on the man that I've known for 30 years. Known as a family man, as a legislator, as a member of our community, as a great physician and a great friend. And it was easy to do that one, but since that last week, things have changed. I feel like I've been asked to be a character witness in a felony trial in the sentencing phase of a conviction. The things that have been said the last week or so, just to me, need to be refuted, and so I'm going to take all the positive things and say them at the end, but try and begin by saying there are a few things out there that need a perspective all the way around. I'm very proud that Tom has filed his income tax returns. A couple of things that the ranking member mentioned came from those showings. Some of the things that came out in the memo last night about property taxes, those were de minimis items that came out. One late tax payment in Nashville, Tennessee, one late tax payment in Washington, D.C. Late, not unpaid, just late, and I've done that myself a couple of times. On innate immunotherapeutics, that was a disclosure that he made, and the valuation difference on a private placement is a normal thing. It's an eyes of the beholder placement in terms of what you assess it at. And this was merely an assessment as to what you disclosed in terms of its worth, not whether or not you disclosed it or not. Tom's a good man. He's a family man. He's a physician. He's an honorable man. And I'm proud to be here today, not to defend him because he doesn't need defending, but to praise him for the things that he's done. You know, I think it's important for all of us to look at a secretary nomination, whether it's Secretary of Defense, whether it's Health and Human Services. What am I really looking forward for in terms of this person? Well, first and foremost, I'm looking for a person that understands the American family. Tom is a great family man. In fact, his wife, Betty's here. Raise your hand, Betty. Last week I told her to stand up, and she was in a crowd, and I couldn't get her to do it, so I'm going to get her to raise her hand this time around. Betty's a great lady and a great wife. Their son, Robert, I guess, is still in Nashville, Tennessee, singing country music. Is that right? So he couldn't be here today, but Lamar Alexander appreciates that part very well. Tom's active in his church, active in his community, understands the needs of families, and understands the relationship of health care to a good family. Secondly, who would I ask to spend $1.1 trillion of my money? I don't have that much, of course, but that's how much Tom will oversee at HHS. What I would look for in a person to handle that much money, I look for a little bit of experience, and Tom's got it in terms of a legislator. I look for somebody who understood where that cost was going, what he needed to do to manage it, and Tom's that type of person. I look for somebody I would trust with that amount of money, even though I don't have it, but if it were mine. Third, does he understand health care? Let me tell you a little bit about Tom and his medical practice. It's called Resurgence Orthopedics. Resurgence Orthopedics is the consolidation of a number of small orthopedic firms around the state of Georgia into the largest orthopedic provider in our state. Tom was one of the leading persons that pulled that together and, in fact, ran the practice for a while himself. They're my doctors. In fact, 26 years ago, Resurgence saved my young son Kevin's right leg in a terrible automobile accident. And I've never forgotten what they did for him in a terrible crisis that we had in our family. But they're a great medical firm. He understands medicine, and he has run a comprehensive medical program. Third, I'd want to understand if he knew fourth, I'd want to understand if he knew the legislative process. You know, when the president calls Tom in and says, okay, we're going to go to the Senate and the House, we're going to sell our package, Tom's got to have the ability to convince 535 people that the president's right or that the administration's right. You don't want somebody going out there who hadn't walked into a legislative meeting before, somebody who hadn't been in the political process before. Tom's been there and done that. And he's the type of guy you could trust to make the sale and represent the administration and the people. Fifth, I'd want somebody who's accountable. Tom's an accountable type of guy. In fact, I joked last week and said he's one of those rare ones of us that actually reads the bills. In fact, when I have a big question, I'll usually talk to Tom late at night and say, Tom, what do you know about H Resolution 3742? And he'll tell me. He's not exciting, he's sometimes boring, but he's always right because he's always prepared. But he understands you need to be accountable in this business. You need to be responsible for what you do and responsible for what you say. Now, there's a rumor that's gone around by some people that Tom doesn't support the saving of Social Security. Let me tell you a little story. A few weeks ago, in fact, at the end of the campaign in October, I was called by AARP and Tom was called by AARP. They said, will you two go on the road for us and do presentations around the state in your congressional districts about how you're going to save Social Security? And in I guess it was Alpharetta, Georgia, was the first place. Tom and I went one night and spent the whole night before a room full of seniors defending saving Social Security. So anybody that's passing that room around Hey, go ask AARP who's going to save Social Security. Go ask the people who are active in that business who's going to do it. Tom Price understands the value of Social Security and the value of Medicare. And being eligible for both, I wouldn't be up here promoting somebody who's going to take it away from me, I guarantee you that. Let me tell you one other thing. 4 years ago, I sat in this committee, in our committee room and in the Help Committee, and I questioned and I asked all that I could of Sylvia Burwell. And when came time for a vote, I voted for her because she was the right person at the right time for the administration to put in head of labor HHS. Dr. Tom Price is the right man at the right time for the right job. He is my friend. He's a man I've known for 30 years. He is an unquestioned character and unquestionability, and he will be a great Secretary of HHS. I thank all of you for taking my calls earlier when I called before this meeting. I urge you to give him the courtesy of your time to listen to what he's got to say, ask your thorough questions, and I hope you'll see fit to nominate an honorable man, an accountable man, and a good man to be the next Secretary of Labor, Health, and Human Services. And I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you.